Welcome back to channel. This is Germany in 1950. The dust of World War II is beginning to settle, but the rubble remains. It's a nation physically and economically shattered, yet on the cusp of one of the most incredible economic recoveries in history. The word Schaffswunder, the economic miracle, and this small, unassuming piece of metal was a foot soldier in that miracle. This is the 1950 10 Pfennig coin. To most, it's just pocket change. But to a numismatist, a historian, or anyone who understands symbolism, it's a story. A story of a nation literally rebuilding itself. One penny at a. To understand this coin, we have to go back to 1949. Germany was divided into occupation zones: American, British, French, and Soviet. The first three consolidated to form the Federal Republic of Germany, West Germany. The Soviet zone became the German Democratic Republic, East Germany. Now, imagine the monetary chaos. You had the old Reichsmark, which was virtually worthless, Allied military currency, and a crazy patchwork of local Notgeld or emergency money. The economy was running on barter and cigarettes. Something had to be done. In June 1948, the Western Allies introduced the Deutsche Mark. It was like a shock therapy. Overnight, the old money was invalidated and new, stable currency was introduced. This was the spark for the economic miracle. But in 1948 and 1949, the first coins were provisional, often minted from leftover pre-war materials. The 1950 coinage was different. It was the first official, permanent coinage of the new Federal Republic of Germany. It was a statement. We are a new, stable, and sovereign nation. Let's read this coin like a book. First, the obverse. The head side, we see oak leaves. This is a classic, powerful German symbol of strength, endurance, and stability. After the aggressive iconography of the Nazi era, the new Germany returned to simpler, more democratic, and nature-based symbols. It's a design that actually dates back to democratic tradition. Below the leaves, the denomination 10 Pfennig. Simple, clear, and functional. And if you look very closely at the edge, you'll find a beautiful, subtle security feature. The inscription Deutsche Bundesbank, repeated in incuse, or sunken, lettering. This was to prevent counterfeiting and clipping, a practice as old as coinage itself. Now, flip it over. The reverse, the tail side. This is where the story gets really interesting. We have the federal eagle, the Bundesadler. But look at it. This isn't the more aggressive eagle of the empire or the swastika-bearing eagle of the Nazis. This eagle, often called the Fetty or fat hen, is stylized, plump, and less militant. It represents the new republic, a state built on law, not conquest. And then there's this little guy, the letter J. This is the mint mark, and it's one of the most important aspects for collectors. That's right. Our 1950 10 Pfennig coin was struck at the Hamburg Mint. The J doesn't stand for a word. It's a historical designation that dates back to the days of the German Empire. Knowing the mint mark allows us to trace the coin's origin and is a key factor in its rarity and value. Listen to that sound. It's not a high-pitched ring of silver, nor a dull thud of pure copper. This coin is struck in a metal called German silver or cupronickel. Specifically, it's 3.5 grams of copper nickel. The exact composition is 75% copper and 25% nickel. This was a practical, durable, and cost-effective choice for a high-circulation coin. It needed to withstand millions of transactions as the new German economy kicked into gear. So how many were made? The official mintage figure for the 1950 10 Pfennig is a staggering 137,800,000 coins. That's over 137 million. So it's safe to say this was not a rare coin in its day. It was a workhorse. If your coin is worn with the details of the eagle or oak leaves flattened, it's worth essentially its metal value. The highest points, but most details are sharp. In this condition, you might be looking at $1 to $3 a coin that never entered public circulation. It has its original luster, though it might have some bag marks from contact with other coins. This is where value starts to climb. An uncirculated 1950 J can be worth $5 to $15. A pristine, almost perfect coin with fantastic luster and minimal contact marks. These are much harder to find and can command prices in the $20 to $50 range, sometimes more for top-tier examples certified by companies like PCGS or NGC. The key takeaway? The 1950 J is common. Its value isn't in its rarity, but in its state of preservation. A perfect example is always worth more than a worn-on so. If it's not particularly valuable, why should we care? Because this coin was in the pocket of the factory worker during his first shift at a rebuilt plant. It was in the purse of the housewife buying bread for her family with a stable currency for the first time in years. It was the change from the first Volkswagen Beetle sold to an ordinary citizen that it represents the tangible return to normalcy. For a decade, Germans had lived with war, destruction, and hyperinflation. The simple act of being able to trust the money in your hand was a revolutionary concept. This 10 Pfennig coin and its siblings, the 1, 5, and 50 Pfennig pieces, formed the bedrock of everyday commerce that fueled the rise of West Germany into an economic powerhouse. It's not made of precious metal. It wasn't struck in limited numbers, but it has a soul. It carries the weight of history. It's a tiny metallic artifact from the dawn of a new Germany. Next time you come across one of these in an old drawer or a coin lot, don't just dismiss it as old change. Hold it. Look at the fat hen, eagle, and the sturdy oak leaves. Remember the year, 1950. And remember the story of a nation and its people picking up the pieces. This is the 1976 German 10 Pfennig coin. To most people, it was just small change. The coin you got back when you bought a bratwurst. The one that collected at the bottom of your purse. But for us coin lovers, every piece tells a story. And the story of this little guy is the story of a nation, divided yet connected, and the quiet, unassuming workhorse of the West German economy. So, grab your magnifying glass, and let's get into the nitty-gritty of the 1976 10 Pfennig. We're talking design, mint marks, composition, and the big question on everyone's mind. Is the one in your drawer worth a small fortune, or is it just a nostalgic piece of metal? First, let's set the stage. It's 1976. In West Germany, it's the era of the Wirtschaftswunder, the economic miracle. The country is a powerhouse. Disco is on the radio, and the Deutsche Mark is one of the strongest currencies in the world. This coin was a tiny cog in that massive economic machine. The design of the 10 Pfennig is a masterpiece of simplicity and symbolism. Let's break it down, starting with the obverse, the head side. You see this large numeral 10? Bold, clear, and unmistakable. This was a coin designed for utility. Below it, the word Pfennig. And framing it all? An oak leaf. Now, the oak tree in German culture is a powerful symbol. It represents strength, endurance, and stability. Pretty fitting for a currency that was helping to rebuild a nation, right? This design wasn't new in 1976. It was introduced back in 1949 for the newly founded Federal Republic of Germany, and it stayed consistent for decades. That consistency bred trust. Now, flip it over to the reverse. Here we have the iconic German oak sprouting from a single acorn. It's a beautiful, hopeful image of growth from a small beginning. Wrapped around the top is the national motto of the post-war era, Bundesrepublik Deutschland. Now let's talk about what this coin is made of. That magnetic attraction, plated with pure nickel asterisk asterisk. Why the switch? Because in the 1960s, the price of copper, the metal used in the earlier versions, was rising. The government needed a cheaper, more abundant metal. Steel was the answer. It's durable, magnetic, and cost-effective. However, steel rusts. That's why they plated it with nickel, to give it that shiny, silvery finish and protect it from corrosion. So, if you find a 1976 10 Pfennig that's a bit rusty or has lost its luster, you know why. The underlying steel is showing through. All right, this is the moment you've been waiting for. You've rummaged through your old box of European souvenirs and found one of these. Are you rich? The 1976 10 Pfennig is an extremely common coin. The West German mints produce them by the hundreds of millions. For a circulated coin, one that's been in pockets and vending machines, you're looking at a value of about 10 to 25 cents or 10 to 20 pence. It's essentially worth its face value in nostalgia. Now, if you have one in brilliant uncirculated BU condition, meaning it never entered circulation, it's sharp, lustrous, and came straight from a mint set. You might be looking at $1 to $3, so why is it so common? 1976 wasn't a special commemorative year for this denomination. It was just another year of high-volume production to meet the demands of a cash-based society. Now, before you get completely disappointed, the world of coin collecting is all about the exceptions. While the standard 1976 J is common, there's always a hunt for errors and varieties. While no major, famous errors are known for the 1976 J10 Pfennig that command huge prices, finding a dramatic example would certainly make your coin more valuable to an error collector. Ultimately, the true value of the 1976 10 Pfennig isn't in its monetary worth. It's in its historical significance. This coin was in circulation for decades, finally being phased out only when the euro physically replaced the Deutsche Mark in 2002. It's a tangible relic of a country that no longer exists, West Germany. It's a piece of the Cold War, a symbol of a divided Germany that shared this common, humble coin. It outlived the Berlin Wall. It facilitated millions of tiny transactions that built a modern economy. So, the next time you find one of these, don't just dismiss it as old foreign change. Hold it. Look at that oak tree. Remember that it represented stability and growth for a nation rising from the ashes. It's a small, metallic piece of a monumental story. And that's the story of a 1976 German 10 Pfennig coin. A common but fascinating piece of 20th century history that I want to hear from you. Asterisk, asterisk, do you have a jar of old Deutsche Mark coins? Did you ever spend one of these back in the day? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more tours of the coins in your pocket. Thanks for watching, and until next time, happy collecting.